Thank you, Mr. President. I think that the spirited debate that we're having today is actually a really good example of how we should be having civil discourse about difficult topics. But, Mr. President, I will give you a recent example of why this level of trust with law enforcement, whether they be local or whether they be federal, is so important. My community was inundated with floods last month, and I think many communities around Western Washington were. And what we saw, Mr. President, was that we had a very stymied evacuation effort because people in the community were terrified that the police and that the National Guard was going door to door to tell them that they needed to leave their homes. People feel differently, and public safety means something different to different people. You know what I'm not worried about in my day today, Mr. President? I am not worried that I'm going to get stopped when I'm trying to drop my child off at school. I'm not going to get stopped when I go into the grocery store by a masked person, potentially assaulted and thrown in a van. That is not my reality. And I think the starkness by which we can see the racial profiling is existing in this type of attempt at doing immigration enforcement does nothing but cause trauma. Every person in our country is afforded Fourth Amendment due process protection, and every law enforcement officer in this state, and I just watched our new batch of police officers get sworn in the other day at my local city hall. The first thing they do is they raise their right hand and they swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Part of upholding the Constitution of the United States of America is understanding that it is unacceptable to be judge, jury, and executioner on someone that you're trying to pick up because you don't know the status of their paperwork. Everyone in our community needs to be afforded that right. And everyone who is in law enforcement is made safer by the accountability that comes from showing your face, showing your badge, and showing your warrant. It is not, in fact, illegal to be in this country without documentation. And that is something I feel is worth repeating in this conversation. I am all for making sure that after due process, someone who is exhibiting criminal behaviors and has been incarcerated is deported. Go for it. I don't want any of the murderers or rapists hanging out on Washington State's dime. But what we are talking about are families trying to go to the grocery store. I had several reports in the last few weeks of ICE agents masked hanging out in front of the local high school. That is unacceptable in our democracy. We do not need law enforcement professionals intimidating children, Mr. President. I urge our support of this very important policy.